Today we're going to be talking about, can a landlord be held liable for nuisance tenants? Greetings out there, Mike Slane, the discount property investor. Thank you guys so much for joining me. If you find this video helpful, please like, share, and subscribe. Or if you have other questions about rental properties and how you manage them, please drop a comment below. I'll try to answer your question as well. Today, we're going to be talking about, can a landlord be held liable for nuisance tenants? So can the landlord be held liable for nuisance tenants? So we're going to talk about that and a few other surprising things that you may need to know about landlord-tenant law if you're thinking about renting properties or if you're currently renting properties. So a little bit about me first, and then we'll go right into the meat. I am Michael Slane. In my background, we've purchased, me and David Dodge, the discount property investors, have purchased over 120 cash flowing rental properties. Our portfolio varies from time to time as we buy and sell, but we are still actively buying here in St. Louis, Missouri. So again, we are very active landlords. We manage a portfolio, here, and it's working out pretty well for us. So let's talk about it. Let's address the elephant in the room. Can we as landlords be held liable for a nuisance tenant? And the answer, unfortunately, is yes. So again, that's just my first thing, is like, how can I be held responsible for another grown adult doing something in one of our houses? And it all comes down to knowledge. First and foremost. So if you know that your tenant, or you believe your tenant, is doing illegal things, then the question kind of becomes for the court is, should you as the owner of the property have known that and taken action prior to the event that, again, they are, have an issue with, that brought you to court? So if you have the power or the ability to address the problem, you need to do it. Again, if you're researching this now and you have a nuisance tenant, you definitely need to do something about it to make sure you are not liable for it. So the best time to do that, unfortunately, if you have a problem tenant, is prior to renting it out. So you want to screen your tenants very well. You want to investigate. You want to try to call prior landlords. Check out, here in Missouri, CaseNet. Again, is great to see if they've had evictions in their past as well as a criminal history. So again, you really want to screen your tenants hard because, again, you could be held liable for them. So what's another thing or another issue that is surprising about landlord-tenant law is dogs or animals. So the landlord is generally not liable for a tenant's dog biting someone, unless you know that that dog is dangerous. So again, it comes down to the knowledge. So if you know about a dog or a large, breed dog that is known specifically to be aggressive, and that particular dog is known to be aggressive, then you definitely need to address that with the tenant. You need to, before it becomes an issue for you. Here's another thing that is kind of an issue, is that criminal activity. So if you're aware that the tenant is doing something illegal at the property, you have to address it and try to get them out before it becomes your problem, meaning your legal problem. Now the courts, again, it doesn't look like they're super clear on if you rent to someone with a past criminal record, because again, there's a lot of gray areas. So there's no case law on this, at least not that I found or that I'm aware of, that says that because you rent it to someone with a criminal history, you automatically assume they're going to repeat offend. Can't really do that. So again, it's a gray area. But again, if you're aware of current criminal activity, you need to take action on it and get something to address that. Another great idea is to try to address criminal activity by others by making your property the most or the least friendly for criminal activity. So what you could do is have large lights or lighting in common areas, kind of in alleyways on your property. If it's dark, make sure you've got some dusk to dawn lights that'll kick on and off automatically. that aren't necessarily controlled on a switch. Nowadays with these LED lights, it's really, really cost effective to put one in, and the cost to run it is not going to be very expensive. Again, shouldn't be an issue. So again, you do have some responsibility to protect the neighborhood, the tenant themselves from being a victim of crime, in addition to that tenant perpetrating a crime. So again, you have to screen those tenants carefully. Again, it's very, very, very important. And do not rent, or I wouldn't necessarily advise renting to people with violent criminal histories. But again, that is, it's a case-by-case basis. You have to look at the individual and make that determination. Okay, third surprising thing that landlords can be held responsible for, and it's a simple one, and it's a frustrating one, but it's the windows and the screens. Okay, so think about this. If you've got a tenant with a small child and they're leaning up against a window or a screen and they fall out of the window or the screen, you as the landlord can be responsible for that. So if you've got janky windows or windows that are kind of loose, make sure you get those installed properly. Make sure that they are secure and fit well. Same thing with the screens. If you're aware of a screen that has a rip in it, you need to get that replaced and secured properly so that, again, you can say you've done everything in your ability to keep that property safe. As the property owner, you're obligated to do so. Something else. Here's another one, not as interesting or more common in, I guess, multifamily units. So for me as a single family investor, it's not as interesting, primarily a single family investor, is secondhand smoke. So if you own a multifamily building, or multifamily for the most part, and there's someone smoking in one of the units and another tenant has an issue with it, they could, again, contact you. You could be liable for it. They could use that to break the lease, all sorts of things like that. So I would suggest making your property smoke free, but again, that is kind of up to you and how you want to manage your properties. The last one, and this one I think is kind of important, especially if you're in an area that has bed bugs. So as an owner, you can be responsible for bed bugs. Like what? How is that even possible? Bed bugs are so gross, and they're always carried in by, the tenants, it seems like. So if you've had this happen in the past, or if you're in an area that's very prone to bed bugs, or you're hearing of a lot of bed bugs being common in the area, it's time to take defense by doing a little bit of offense on your property when it goes vacant prior to the tenants moving in. Make sure you get a licensed company to come out and certify that it's bed bug free, so that you can, again, then pass that on or put that in part of the lease, so then you can identify, hey, this property was clean when you received it. You are the cause of the bed bugs, or you were the ones who brought it in, so you couldn't be held responsible for it, because that can be costly. Just think about, one is you have to fumigate the property, and with the tenants there, that's going to be very difficult. So where are the tenants going to go? Well, you may have to put them up in a hotel. So make sure you, again, do this, especially in areas that are very common to having bed bugs. So long story short, as a landlord, you are taking on a lot of liability. And, oftentimes it feels like you're kind of babysitting some of your tenants. Like, hey, guys, you're an adult. Like, I did not expect to be your parent, but let's act like adults. So again, it is kind of funny the situations you'll get into, and that's one of the reasons why, although we manage our properties here in St. Louis, we also have hired a property manager to manage them for us, and now we get to hear about these issues and the challenges that he has with our tenants secondhand as he's doing the day-to-day for us, which really makes our lives a lot easier. Thank you guys so much for watching. The long and the short of it is, can a landlord be held liable for the tenant's nuisance activity or tenant's issues? And unfortunately, yes, you can. So you've got to take a strong defensive position, do everything in your power to find good tenants ahead of time, screen them, and you can avoid most of these problems. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked what you saw, like I said at the beginning, please like, share, and subscribe.